All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Estevao, for giving me this opportunity to speak on Noumena. It's the first time. And I'm extremely pleased to talk to freelancers today. Freelancers, whether they are in Europe, and I'm sure since we are in a time zone which makes it easy, we will have a lot of people in Asia, probably Thailand, Singapore, Hong Kong, Bali. You are all welcome, freelancers. Today, we are going to talk about how to make engaging presentation. Someone got the idea to say killer because killer is a very fashionable word. But let's say engaging presentations, because all of you freelancers, you need to present what you do, your service, your company, your product. And today we are going to explore that. This is a method I've been personally using and actually showing to a lot of entrepreneurs, especially SMEs, over the last 3 or 4 years now. So it's a set of good sense things which puts the audience first. Usually when we talk about ourselves, we want to put ourselves first. This is a very human habit, and actually we want to appear as good as possible. But you are going to see what I'm proposing in this method is to put the audience first. And it's very simple. So we are going to look at that together. My PowerPoint is ready, and we are going to look at this right now. Is that clear for everybody? Yes. All right. A freelancer's guide to crafting engaging speeches. And speeches here is taken in a very general sense, but actually most of what you will do certainly is about presenting your activity or presenting a project. And basically there is no difference because it's about selling an idea. By selling, I would say presenting the pros and all the positive and constructive aspects to it. So how do we do that so that the maximum of people are touched? Just a few words about me first. I've been working in Asia almost of my, basically 90% of my professional life. And I worked in a very competitive industries like the logistics for 7 years. I have also been a freelance for market survey companies doing intelligence, gathering about certain industries, how some industries are evolving or how some are going down. Since 2012, I founded Peak Communication because I realized that there was something quite interesting to do. And at the beginning, I was not very good at communicating my ideas and talking about myself. So I thought it was a good idea to offer what I have learned and keep learning, of course. My training is about business in linguistics. I'm passionate about languages, different cultures. I've been a long time in Hong Kong. I speak Mandarin, a bit of Cantonese. I speak also German and English. So we are going to start now, enough talking about myself. I have been reminded not to forget that. That means this is my Noom, the QR code you see. If you want to, with your phone to scan it, this is fine. We would like to acknowledge our sponsors, of course, Noumena and the Base coworking in Lisbon. Actually, I spent the last year, 2022, entirely in Lisbon. I've met quite a few fabulous people, one of them in Esteva, and there were very interesting discussion and talk at the base in the center of Lisbon. So what we do, generally what I do with companies, just to start with, otherwise I'm going to forget. I'm helping to boost entrepreneurs' image and businesses through public speaking, because public speaking is the most cost-effective way to promote your business. Communication skills for larger companies, especially when it's about communication between teams, and preparing entrepreneurs or anyone who wants to talk on TEDx, for instance, or someone who would be invited to talk on TV and radio. All right, let's jump. What do we mean by engaging speeches? And actually, I have a very personal definition of it, and I'm proposing you to go through these few points. That is my definition of engaging speeches. So this is Tony Robbins. Not everybody is Tony Robbins, only Tony Robbins, but this is one of the famous coaches who actually is very engaging. He knows how to personify what is important to him when he coaches many people. I like also to take as a role model Steve Jobs. But none of us is Steve Jobs nor Tony Robbins. So by engaging speeches, I mean people listen entirely to what you say. Nobody wants to look on their mobile phone while you talk. This is an important point. And we should desire that. The question is how to make it, okay? People listen entirely. People remember you after you have talked. And if later you give another talk somewhere, someone who was there the first time say, oh, I remember you. You gave that talk some time ago, and I enjoyed it very much. This is what we want. You know how to use humor appropriately, because humor is fundamental, especially at the beginning of your talk, of your presentation, because it acts as an icebreaker. So humor, and this is a very important point. At the beginning and maybe towards the end of the talk, members of the public ask questions because they felt concerned about what you presented, and they want to know more. They have ideas germinating in their minds, and they want to ask you questions. The audience anticipates your intervention because someone said you were a good speaker. And this is always welcome because it changes the energy in the room. And the last point is, since you have developed these strategies and technique to speak in public and to give great presentation, people will invite you. People will invite you again and again. And if you can tick some of these points, you definitely do engaging speeches. So who is interested to do great speeches? Jessica? I'm sure you are. Okay.
Yes.
There we go. Fantastic. We are going to explore today, since we have a bit of time, but we do not have a few hours, the best way to start a speech. Okay. How to relate to a new audience, some key tips for presentation skills, how to use storytelling, how to conclude, because there are different ways you can use to conclude a speech. And of course, we will have a few Q&A at the end. How to start a speech. There are 10 ways, but here I have selected 5, and probably you are familiar with one, but I put first asking a question. When you ask a question right at the beginning of a speech, you trigger immediately some interest because you give the audience an opportunity to speak or an opportunity to act, to do something, to get involved. So asking a question is a great way. Another way is to tell a short story. So you notice in all those ways, you do not exactly start with your core message. It's not necessary. It's too early. All right? It's too early. You need to warm up the audience, and basically you need to relate. This is what we are going to see on the second point. Okay? Say something controversial out of the blue like that. People will react, and then you bring your topic step by step. Or you can ask the audience to do something. Basically, there are more ways than that. But the main idea of this point number one is engage the audience immediately. Okay? Immediately. The second point is once you have engaged the audience, now you need to relate. That means you need to create a kind of link, a kind of almost a bond to this group of people who do not know you, who probably have never heard of you. And there is no past between you and them, and they don't know what to expect. So you need to relate to them. How do we do that? Paradoxically, it's a good way to be personal. Make it personal. Talk a bit about yourself. That gives the audience in general a way to connect with your personality, what you like, what you don't like, what happened to you, whatever you put into this. Okay? Of course, I should have started with that. Try to know who will be there. What kind of people will be there? Okay? Because that can give you a very important clue to relate to these people, right? Example, maybe it could be parents. Maybe it could be young entrepreneur. I'm talking about between 20 and 30-year-old. Okay, maybe less than 30, but very young entrepreneur. Maybe it's more senior people. Okay, try always to know what's the majority of people who will be there, or why are they there? Why do they come? Because that brings a commonality between them, and you can use that to relate to them. So you can bridge this with talking about yourself a bit. Okay, let's say, oh, I was here last year at that meeting, and I'm seeing you for the first time, but I know a bit about who usually comes at this meeting, etc., etc. Okay, there are many ways. It's a bit of creativity, but it's not that difficult. Ensure your audience can identify with you. This is extremely important. You can also mention a problem, an issue, something that happened to you that is also connected to your main topic. And if it is a problem, definitely many people will resonate with that, will have gone through the same kind of problem, and will listen carefully about what you have to say. Okay? So this is about relating. Another thing to go together with what you say to people we have never seen before is try to smile. Some people have a smile very easily. It's the way they are. Some others do not smile very easily. I am one of them. But it's also important to. It's not about exaggerating. Every exaggeration is totally to abandon, to forget about. But never forget to smile. All right, this is our second point, how to relate. Of course, keeping eye contact is very important with the first row of people, the second row, by turn like that. Now, we come to the main topic of your presentation. So it can be commercial, but not necessarily. It can be related to your activity, but it could be about a project where you want to enroll people, a very interesting thing. And you want to promote this project maybe for fundraising, or maybe to get people volunteering into your project. All these consist in basically communicating an idea. So one of the good things to do first is to say why you are involved in this project. There can be many reasons, okay? What are the values contained in this project, or the values contained in your activity? So you have not yet talked about what you do exactly, but step by step, you bring your main topic. Values. If there is something to do, it's definitely to bring a solution to a problem. So then you follow by the problem. The problem existing, there is such and such problem, and we want to help people overcome this problem. We want to bring a solution to this problem, maybe a community problem, whatever, and you come to the solution. So you see first the three first steps: why, together with the values, then the problem, and then the solution. In this order, always. If we had more time, I could explain why, but we will not have enough time tonight. This is about basically about cognitive psychology. When you have to communicate with an audience and you do not have a lot of time, you need to take shortcuts. Then you can talk about the features. The features consist in actually explaining how what you present, the solution you present, makes sense. And now we are no more in the emotion, now we are in the logical aspect of things. All the rational, the activity taking place in the neocortex, the rational issues. This is the feature of our project, of our services. It works because we do this, this, this. If it is relevant, you can talk about your past achievements, the successes you had, in order to confirm that you are serious about what you talk about, and your solution is viable. It works, very important. And at last, at the end, you can talk about the people working with you. At the very end, I still see sometimes presentation made. We can talk about technical presentation for startups. And sometimes they want to boast immediately at the beginning, we are a team of 12 and we have so many engineers, etc. It doesn't work. It's not coming at the right time. All those things, very logical, should come last, okay? The team especially. All right, now we are ready to look for the fourth point. You can definitely, and you are encouraged to use storytelling in any presentation, any speech, basically because they are a perfect vehicle for transmitting very important ideas in a simple way, all right? Especially when it comes to the values that animate you, especially. So storytelling, there are two things we should keep in mind about that. The stories, of course, must always be entirely original and true. We cannot make up stories. It's not going to work. Okay? So if you, for instance, if you talk about your professional activity, you can talk about one of your clients, how a particular client had a particular issue, and what was done to overcome that issue, and the result that came out of it. Okay? I'm sure you have seen that somewhere, a normal course of action, then a challenge, and then a solution. It looks like a kind of cooking recipe, but this is how things work. And basically, all good stories talk about stories which happened centuries ago. They all have that. Okay? All of them. No exception. So human beings are hardwired to listen to stories because this is what we have been doing for centuries and millennia before modern technology of communication. In the evening, we were listening to stories and we were telling stories as we were growing old. This is a good thing. This is a very good thing because stories not only transmit values, but also wisdom, common wisdom, popular wisdom. Okay? And now I'm coming to the fifth point of a powerful presentation, how to conclude a speech. So like for the introduction, you have the choice between 3, 5, 10 ways to introduce what you want to say. You have also a few ways to conclude a speech. So there is one point here which I can stress. It's never a bad thing to repeat the 2 or 3 main points of your speech. Repeating is good. There is nothing wrong with repeating. And actually, some professional speakers say, if the message is important, different points can be repeated 3 times during your speech. Everybody will be happy. Everybody will be happy because they know this is what they can go home with. And this reassured that they get everything they needed to know. All right. So it's never a bad thing. You can do it twice, right? And the conclusion being the second time where you reiterate the 2 or 3 main points. But it's not enough. This is one part of the conclusion. The second part can be a call to action, asking people to do something. So it really depends on what your presentation is about. Okay? Really it depends on what the presentation is about, but a call to action is a great way. And my favorite one is the point number 3 here. Use a question that could be the theme of a later speech. And I give you an example. And if we could do this, etc., would that be a good idea? And that would be the conclusion. So it keeps your audience on the lookout for more answers, for thinking proactively, creatively. And you could be asked to later on to give another speech to follow up on that. But ending up with a question gives a great value to everything you have talked about before. All right. So basically, to end up your speech, it's always a good idea again, to involve the audience, either with a call to action or in thinking about what to do next. It's always very, very welcome. And of course, this is what I'm going to do now, asking about what you feel about this. So that's now Q&A time. Would you have some particular questions or issues about speeches you have done before, and maybe you are looking for a way to do things in a different way? So do you still have some issues, or do you have some specific results that you are looking for when you have to talk in front of a new audience?
Christian, I have a question. When you have to present a project, for example, for fundraising, which is quite common for freelancers or entrepreneurs,
Sure.
do you think it's a good idea to have, let's say, a side presentation in addition to your own, let's say, speech?
What do you mean by a side presentation, Esteban?
Like a presentation that you have here, showing on the
Yes.
screen something that is related to what you are looking for.
So you mean then you would have two presentations? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, a presentation showing the project that you are looking for, let's say, fundraising. So do you think it's a good idea to have this combined with your speech, or you can use...
I think...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think I understand what you mean. I think the key word is simplicity. And having continuous line. Now, you can put what you want in this process, but to have only one presentation, which can have two purposes, it's totally okay. What you do and integrating in it the fundraising. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, example, we do project A. It's so following all the steps we have seen together. The same steps, exactly the same steps. So this is our project. And then towards the end, there is a special 2 slides, not more than that. Now, to kick off this project, we have already gathered this particular support, this support, and the last one we need is more funding, something like that. So it's simple to understand. It's simple to understand. People get motivated by the nature of the project. And at the end, you say, we are doing fundraising. We have already accumulated this, and you understand now the value of what we do. And now we need to fundraise. That's what I would do. That's what I would do.
Thank you very much for your input.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hi, thank you very much for this presentation. It's actually very useful. And I'm wondering if it's possible to apply all these like rules also like into like PDF presentation and not like...
Yes, Jessica. Absolutely. Yes. So, because basically we are it's a process of communication. So what we do, I mean, what I do most of the time, it's about I'm training people to speak, but in writing, it should follow exactly the same sequence because we talk to a human brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We talk to a human brain, and the human brain is going to act in the same, will follow the same thinking process, whether it hears or whether it reads. Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
you can apply that on a PDF. It's necessary to produce a written document, but Jessica, the gold mine is to use the opportunity to speak every time we can. And you know why? Because the person who speaks brings a part of herself or himself, and that makes the project even more likable because it's a human being witness of representative of the whole project. You see what I mean? So sometimes we need to send documents, yes, but sending documents should never, ever, ever be considered as replacing the direct physical appearance. Never, never. And the more you talk, and you might see that the more public appearance you do, the conversion rate will be higher.
All righty. That's actually interesting because what I'm trying to accomplish is like I'm a freelancer graphic designer and I'm trying to get a little bit more clients. Like I'm trying to put myself out there a little bit better. So it's actually good. Maybe I can start actually sending out like videos, like a link instead of like these PDF presentations, probably like a speech, like talking.
Yes,
It's really
yes.
better. That's actually a good idea. So that's actually good input. Thank you very much.
Yes, basically the video you would send are the middle ground between physical public appearance and the paper is just in between, is halfway. But to me, it's much better.
Yeah, I know it's halfway. Then if I get the chance to meet the client, then I'm gonna
Sure.
like
And every time meeting the client is great, but every time you could find an opportunity to speak to 10, 12, 50 people, this is gold.
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, that's gonna be like the next level. I'm gonna start.
Right. All right. You are well positioned for the next level, Jessica.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. We have a limited audience right now. However, I'm sure many more people will will have the opportunity to watch this video. So I'm welcome to answer the questions you may have. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I will gladly answer the questions you may have in order to keep this discussion going. Some other suggestion?
Christian, I've got a question.
Hello, Anne-Laurence. Nice to see you.
I've got a question, Christian. What do you do to stop the nerves?
Yes.
Because I'm always worried that I'm going to lose the trend of my presentation and lose my words. Really, just like, oh my God, I forgot what I was going to say.
All right. This requires a bit of training at home. And basically, it's about deep breathing. This is one of the most effective way. This is not the only one. The most effective way to calm down the stress level, calm down a kind of depending on the people and the character, the possible panic attack, especially if you're facing a larger number of people than usually. Maybe imagine you are facing 100, 200 or more people. Some people can be prone to kind of panic attack. In this case, one of the most effective way is belly breathing, abdominal breathing, because it pumps up more oxygen in the blood stream, and the tension has a tendency to go down immediately. My second recommendation going together with that is a bit of training. You need to train yourself a bit, are some simple exercise of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And here we have Anne-Laurence in the audience, who is an expert in this. So she could tell you more about that. But NLP consists in reframing your mental perception. And it takes a few seconds to go from tension, near panic, to a state of calm. It just takes a few seconds. It requires a bit of technique, but this is necessary. If you do regular public appearances, it's necessary to train yourself in this. You can find people who can help you with that, and it's good to practice it before at home. If you know, for instance, that in 1 month you are going to speak to a larger audience, let's say 200, 300 people, and you have never done it before, prepare yourself in this way. Make sure the structure of your speech is adequate, as we have seen today. Repeat your speech, repeat different versions of your speech, and be familiar with belly breathing, with abdominal breathing. This kind of thing. Not with the shoulders going up, but with the abdomen pumping up, pumping away the air, okay? And that would be a fabulous tool.
Thanks very much, Christian.
Thank you for the question, Isabel. All right. I cannot see the questions in the chat. If someone can help me with this. I'm checking the chat.
No questions, Christian, but we have some people asking to receive the presentation. So yes, we will send via email later.
All right. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. If we do not have more questions, I think maybe we can think about concluding with a call to action. Esteban, what do you think?
Yes, for sure. Yes, I want to thank you, everyone, and I, of course, thank Christian. Unfortunately, we had a very little technical problem in the beginning, but yeah, we managed to fix, and we managed to record the session. So later on, I will share the link with Christian, and we will post this everywhere, then to enable people to watch it later. Thank you very much, Christian, for your time. The presentation was amazing, really useful for myself. Yeah.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Esteban. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Christian. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure. See you. Bye-bye. See you soon. All right. Okay. Thank you.